When I was 8, my grandfather brought home a doll from an estate sale. He said it reminded him of my late grandmother, same pale face, same glassy blue eyes. He smiled when he handed it to my mother, like it was something precious. I still remember the way she froze, her fingers trembling as she took it. She named it Lydia. Back then, Lydia just sat on my mother's dresser, old-fashioned dress, cracked porcelain cheeks, hair so real it almost shimmered in the light. I never liked it. It always looked aware. Sometimes I'd catch its head slightly turned toward the door, even though I swore it had been facing the mirror before. When my grandfather died a year later, my mother locked herself in her room for days. When she came out, her eyes were swollen and bloodshot, but she was smiling. She helped me, she whispered. Who? I asked. Lydia, she said. She told me he's not gone. Just waiting. After that, my mother changed. She stopped talking to us during the day, but every night I'd hear her voice through the thin walls, whispering, laughing softly, like she was comforting someone. Sometimes it sounded like two voices. I told my dad, but he brushed it off. Your mom's grieving, he said. Let her be. But then the smell started, something like old flowers mixed with rot. It seeped from her room no matter how many candles she burned. Dad would sleep on the couch more often, claiming the room was too stuffy. One night, I woke up to soft footsteps in the hall. I peeked out and saw my mom standing outside my room, holding Lydia. The doll's eyes were shining in the dark. Mom? I whispered. She smiled. Go back to sleep, sweetheart. Lydia just wanted to check on you. The next morning, I found a strand of blonde hair on my pillow. Not mine. Lydia's. When I turned 15, Dad left. He didn't say why, just packed up and drove away. I found a note on the kitchen table. I can't sleep with the whispering anymore. Take care of her. That was the first time I realized it wasn't just me hearing it. After that, things got worse. Mom barely left her room. She looked thinner every week. Her lips were always moving, whispering to the doll even when no one was there. Once, I opened the door just an inch, and she screamed, a sound so sharp it didn't sound human. The next day, the door was nailed shut from the inside. I called out for her, begged her to open it. All she said was, she doesn't like you anymore. You shouldn't have listened. The whispering got louder after that. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and hear two sets of whispers outside my door, one soft and one crackly, like dry leaves rubbing together. Last week, I finally got the courage to break the lock and go in. It smelled like a coffin. The curtains were shut, the air heavy and still. Mom was sitting on the edge of the bed, her back straight, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The doll sat across from her, on a small wooden chair. They were facing each other, perfectly still. Mom? I whispered. She turned her head slowly, and I saw that her eyes were cloudy, gray. She blinked, but her face didn't move, like she was mimicking what a person does when they remember how to be human.
Don't interrupt us,
she said, in a voice that wasn't hers, too deep, too calm. I ran out. That was 4 days ago. I've been staying in the living room since, sleeping with the lights on. Every night, I hear her talking again. But it's not whispers anymore. It's a conversation. Full sentences. Sometimes she laughs softly. Sometimes Lydia does. This morning, I went to make breakfast and saw the doll sitting at the kitchen table. My mother wasn't around. There was something written on the wall in what looked like charcoal. You shouldn't have left us alone. I threw the doll out in the trash. I swear I did. I watched the truck take it away. But tonight, I heard the door to my mother's room creak open. And that voice, the one that sounds like dead leaves, whispered right outside my door. Lydia wants to see you now.
Anna was only 14 when it happened. She'd been quiet for weeks before that day, withdrawn, pale, always holding that porcelain doll her grandmother had given her. Its face was cracked from age, one glass eye cloudy, the other glinting like it could see right through. She named it Clara. No one knew where the doll had come from originally. Anna's grandmother said it had belonged to a little girl from her childhood village, one who died mysteriously. It's just a story, her grandmother laughed when Anna asked, but her voice trembled slightly. Then, strange things began happening around the house. Doors opened on their own. Anna's toys were found neatly lined up in the middle of the floor every morning. And at night, her mother could hear whispering through the walls, soft and rhythmic, like a lullaby sung to someone unseen. Anna started talking less and less to people, but more and more to Clara. And then, one morning Anna was gone. Her bed was empty, the blanket folded neatly as if she had just stepped out for a moment. At first, everyone thought she had gone to the backyard or maybe to the neighbor's house. But when hours passed and she didn't come back, panic began to spread. The police searched the nearby woods. Her name was shouted through every street, yet no one found a trace of her. Only the doll was discovered, lying beside the old oak tree at the edge of town, its dress stained with dirt, its glass eyes staring blankly up at the sky. A week later, when they finally found Anna's body, the doll was placed in her coffin, as if it belonged with her or she with it. Anna's mother couldn't bear to touch her daughter's things. Then one night, she heard something move in the attic. Slow, soft footsteps, the kind a child might make while playing. She told herself it was rats, until she heard the sound of a girl's voice humming a tune she hadn't heard since Anna's funeral. The next morning, Anna's mother found muddy footprints leading from the attic to the front door. Small footprints, child-sized. Weeks later, people began seeing something strange at the cemetery. Flowers left on Anna's grave were found crushed, as if someone had been sitting there. A few visitors swore they saw a doll, small, pale, and old, propped against her tombstone, though it was supposed to have been buried deep with Anna. One night, the groundskeeper stayed late to catch whoever was trespassing. Around midnight, he saw movement near the grave, a figure small, hunched, digging with its hands. He shouted, but the figure didn't stop. When he shone his flashlight, he saw the porcelain face glimmer back at him. The doll's single clear, I seemed to blink. He quit the next day. By the end of that month, Anna's mother began hearing her daughter's voice again, whispering from her bedroom, laughing in the hallway. The last straw was when she found the doll sitting on Anna's bed, its cracked face freshly polished, its dress perfectly clean. The doll was taken back to the cemetery. This time, the priest himself buried it, reciting prayers over the open ground. He warned the family never to return there at night. No one did. But every year, on the anniversary of Anna's death, a new doll appears on her grave. Always the same kind, antique porcelain one cloudy eye. No one knows who leaves it. Some say Anna is collecting playmates. Others say Clara was never just a doll. And if you walk past her grave after dark, you might hear a child's laughter echo faintly, coming from under the ground.
But evil doesn't stay buried for long, does it?